welcome to another live recording of the Business Travel 360 Linking the Travel Industry podcast, where we discuss travel industry news that you're talking about on LinkedIn. My name is Ash, and I'm the host of a weekly business travel podcast called What's Up in Business Travel, where we give you only the important updates in under 15 minutes. Normally on the show, we have Rian doing all of this intro stuff, but this week he's enjoying the Maldives. So, Anne, it's you and I. So over to you, Anne.
It's very unusual, isn't it? I'm Anne. I'm an independent consultant, and I focus on anything related to distribution. So happy to help you with retailing, one order NDC, and distribution strategy, and much more.
Normally, you would hand this over to me now. So, all right. So the format of this discussion is a quick, non-biased, spontaneous review of the previous week's LinkedIn stories. And we also want to hear what you think about it. So please give us your comments. Your comments will be brought up on screen today. So we do have that functionality. We know how to do that well. As always, we always want to hear where you're listening in from. So that's always a fun part of us doing this show. We always like to know where people are coming in from. So, Anne, I want to start off the show by mentioning that Business Travel 360 hit 500 episodes last week. So I was extremely happy because I got a little blurb from our hosting provider saying, you've now hit 500 shows. So pretty cool.
It made me so happy. I'm still really thrilled about this.
So I remember how when we first did the first event and we kind of got together, it was nowhere near where we are now from a production standpoint. But I think we're going to revert back to some of the old production issues because today it's just you and I doing the show.
Yeah, we were trying to talk Rian into joining us, but no, he's preferring drinks and massage and what have you.
All right. And the first story that we want to talk about is that the announcement last week was that MXGBT has completed their $540 million acquisition of CWT. This story has been in the news for 2 years, right? We've been hearing about it, delayed, all sorts of issues with the different bureaucracies in the UK and, of course, in Europe and the US. So finally, this is all done. And now the merger of the TMCs can begin. It's about 20 months after. So a few things, right? I mean, obviously, MXGBT got a better deal than they initially expected. So initially, it was a $570 million deal. Now it's a $540 million deal. So they've saved about $30 million. And I think this has given both MXGBT and CWT a lot of time to plan and to start their process of what would it look like. You know, a lot of times when you have acquisitions, you have to kind of figure it out afterwards. But I think with this being delayed for almost 2 years now, they've had a lot of time to actually spend some time and figure out, you know, what are we going to do? I'm going to refer to a story or an interview that was done by The Beat, where they actually interviewed MXGBT CEO Paul Abbott. And it's a really interesting interview because there's a lot of direct questions in here. And one of the areas that I want to talk about that's interesting to me is that a lot of conversation in this about a $155 million synergy target. And of course, the idea behind this merger is that they're expecting, so if you think about it, right, the deal is $540 million, about $155 million is going to be recovered through the synergy targets that they talk about. I'll pause there and just kind of get your initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, I also saw that. I mean, that comes as no surprise, right? You know, one of the questions that we always bring up is what's going to happen on the technology side of things, how the synergy is going to work out there. And of course, I guess they just have to streamline, right?
I mean, they're going to streamline. And one of the questions that Paul was asked is that, you know, how are you going to make this happen? So we're talking about 9,000 CWT employees and their teams. Of course, there are some unique things that CWT does that they might retain a lot of these 9,000 people through that process. But in addition to the people side of things, Paul mentions things like, well, we're going to merge our technologies, our duplicate HR, our duplicate finance, our duplicate real estate, our duplicate infrastructure. And he goes on to say, we don't need 2 finance systems. We don't need 2 HR systems. We don't need 2 cloud infrastructure. So that's all true. But I have never seen that these costs are going to come anywhere near $155 million. So I think it's going to be a lot of people who are going to be let go.
But I mean, if we go back in history and look at these typical mergers, your acquisitions, that is normally what happens.
So this is a good story. This is the announcement that Johnny Thorsten, our friend, is now on the Kite board. Johnny actually is currently the VP of Strategic Business Development Serco as well. So he's got that side of his day, and then he's also now got this new board gig that he's going to be doing. So super exciting. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I just love it. Alice is a friend. We're a big fan of Alice and Kite. The team at Kite, they do a phenomenal job. I really admire their tenacity and how they've been, helping so many to transform and move to API first and help them with the APIs. And I think that Johnny can really help in contributing here and helping them with a sort of path towards where they need to go. So really good news.
Yeah, and Johnny's got a lot of experience in the travel industry with all his previous gigs at Spotnana.
Oh, yeah.
And Get There and Mezzi.
Yeah, he's a very forward-thinking person and someone that I admire a lot, and always great to interact with him.
Well, all right, so a couple of other stories, and I'm going to kind of merge them together. There was a story about the TAG Angola Airlines that has an inaugural flight between Luanda and Nairobi.
Yes.
And then there's also another story about Austrian Airlines doing a seasonal route between Vienna and Dubai starting in December this year. What are your thoughts about those two?
They're very, very different. I mean, what's interesting about TAG, of course, is that Africa really suffers from very few trans-African connections. I mean, typically in Africa, you say you have to go to the Middle East to actually connect between important African cities, which is crazy because to fly all of Africa, right, Ash, it's like close to 11 hours. We're talking enormous, vast distances here. Of course, I understand. I mean, Angola is a very, very wealthy country, very wealthy market. And it's interesting that they choose Nairobi, although I want to say that TAG could do so much better if they just had a website that functions. I mean, go and check that one out. That is sad. I mean, it's like very sad. Room for great improvement there. As for Austrian Airlines, that was pretty interesting, wasn't it, Ash? I mean, when you read that article, it's almost like introducing a sort of low-cost budget or whatever alternative during seasonal. I'm not so sure about this. I assume that they've sussed out that the demand is there. And of course, Dubai is a very good spot, again, for the reasons we just mentioned, right? I mean, just look at the connections to Africa or look anywhere. But then, of course, they would have to interline then. Or it's interesting that they launch it.
I'm imagining it's December, you're in Vienna, you're freezing cold, and you just want to get the heck out of town, right? So this is one of those yes. scenarios.
Remember, Dubai is an expensive destination, right? Not really a budget destination. Do you know what I mean?
So I'm interested to see how this works out for them. I mean, I don't know if people are going to fly interline from Dubai somewhere else and use it as a vehicle for that reason, right? I think it's just mostly a point-to-point. I mean, these fare categories that they mentioned, economy, light, economy, classic, are these normal for Austrian Airlines?
I mean, that is the Lufthansa Group brand definitions.
So why do they call it a low-cost winter trial? Like, what's the reason for that?
So they don't offer some of the products that they typically do on long haul. Well, I don't know. Dubai is not really long haul from Vienna. I mean, not what I consider long haul. Probably a 4-hour flight or something like that. They're not offering the same package, so to speak, as they normally do. So that's why it's been defined as budget. No entertainment, for instance, I think was one of the things. So
the only one that flies a nonstop right now is Emirates, and it's a 5.5-hour flight, Anne, not a short.
Oh, 5.5, yeah. It's not that short, no. But remember, out of Sofia, you've got Fly Dubai. Be interesting to see if Fly Dubai, moves into that part of the world.
So let's move to the next story. And this is about Southwest Airlines is now starting on October 24th, by the way. So just next month, will be offering their Rapid Rewards members. And so they'll be able to enjoy unlimited Wi-Fi sponsored by T-Mobile. I don't know what you guys think about T-Mobile over there in the European market, but here they're gaining a lot of steam, right? One of the reasons why they're gaining steam is because they have a partnership with SpaceX now as well. If you have a T-Mobile line and you happen to be somewhere in the middle of the ocean, your network does flip over to the SpaceX setup, which is pretty cool. And so this is a new partnership, and everybody that has a Rapid Rewards number and will be able to get access to the internet. And this is all free of cost, by the way. This puts Southwest in the same conversation now as Delta Airlines, which has been doing this for a long time with their Delta SkyMiles members. United Airlines announced it last year, and American Airlines is saying that they're going to start this next year. So now all the big four airlines in the US have a partnership of some sort where as long as you have a number with their airline, with the frequent flyer program, you have access to free Wi-Fi. Are you expecting that to happen in the European market?
Yeah, I find it so fascinating that the European airlines are not really catching on to this sort of frequent flyer linking the services with. Why not? I think it's absolutely brilliant to grow your frequent traveler base. Kudos to Southwest. T-Mobile are very well known in Europe as well, and I'm very impressed with them.
It used to be that these things used to be a big cost item. So I find the fact that this is all connected to the frequent flyer numbers to be quite interesting, because that gives airlines a lot of window into the things that people do when they're online as well.
Absolutely. It's data gathering, right?
Usually somewhere in the middle of the show, Rian says thank you to all our audience members. So we'll go ahead and say that in our own way. So appreciate you all being here and joining us. This story, I find this to be quite interesting, and I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll let you go first on this one, Anne, and then I'll kind of piggyback at the end. The TSA here in North America has launched something that they're calling One-Stop Security. And One-Stop Security is essentially the name of the program. This is a pilot program. And this is something that was launched initially with American Airlines for the London to Dallas flights. Delta is also doing it for their London to Atlanta flight. So a few things about this. One is that this allows international passengers to skip rescreening when they're connecting in the U.S. So if you come into Dallas and you're flying on to Chicago or something else, you don't have to go through the TSA process again. But in addition to that, this also gives you checked bag transfers. You don't have to claim your bag and then recheck it in, which is pretty cool. And the idea is to help connection times and reduce misconnections. What are your thoughts about this?
Oh, yes, of course, it's a step in the right direction, right? It's pain, isn't it, to pick up the bag, go through customs, recheck, and that whole process. Because, I mean, the main pain is immigration, of course. But this is one more step towards making it so much easier, and it's great.
I don't like this, to be quite honest. I do like the bag transfer thing. That's, of course, the best thing about it. But there's a couple of things I don't like about this. Number one, I don't like the fact that you don't have to go through the TSA screening process. I mean, it doesn't change your immigration stuff. You still have to do that. So this is not going to let you. But I'm looking at it from a security perspective. This opens up too many security holes because you're relying on somebody else in a different country to have done the security screening process properly. I find that this is going to open up some holes in our security process, which we have today. Hopefully the TSA has that in their mind, which I'm sure they do. But the bag transfer thing, I love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't you think that TSA have sort of taken this into consideration? And I don't know. I mean, I've seen screening at gates.
Yeah, we don't have screening in gates here. The screening is all done before you get to the gate. And I actually do like the gate screening because it's like a double layer. Right?
It's a double layer, yeah.
But they do say allowing select international passengers. So I'm wondering if that's going to play a role into who gets it. It's not like everybody in the plane will be able to get through.
That's interesting, isn't it? But anything to speed up the processes.
That's true too. So our buddy Andy is questioning, why is the US so special, I think, is his way of saying it nicely. I think he's pointing this at me because I said that I don't want there to be security holes. Right, so a couple of hellos from our friend George in Athens, Greece. So he's saying hi.
Lovely.
Thank you, George, for being here. Appreciate you. And Laurencio, listening in from Romania. Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here. And despite our lack of music today and lack of Rian today, this is the show that Rian was not part of. We get to do it our way. To me, this is the funniest story of the week, and I love this a lot. Ryanair has officially announced that they're going to offer bigger personal bags, and they're claiming this is 33% bigger than the EU standard. So when I first read this, I thought that this was 33% bigger than the previous size, which I thought, that's not so bad. But apparently there's an EU standard, so you'll have to explain what the heck that is to me, Anne, in a second here. But they're allowing the Ryanair bag sizers to allow for a free personal bag of 40 by 30 by 20 centimeters. So, I mean, we do inches here, right? So I pulled out my ruler, my handy dandy ruler, and I started to measure what the heck 40 centimeters is. And it's not even the size of my screen. Please tell us what the heck is going on here, Anne. What is this EU standard?
Well, I also had to get... So this is the personal item, right? So for me, it would be my handbag because you paid for your hand luggage. But I also started measuring this and I realized that, gosh, that is tiny. That is the Ryanair allowance. I really struggle with this one because, like I said, who measures these personal items as you go on board? It's tiny, like I said.
Okay, so I'm going to read some of the comments on this post. This is really, really funny. Okay. So somebody goes, never flew Ryanair and will never fly them. This one is hilarious. Size matters. And Ryanair have the big size.
Oh,
I thought that was hilarious.
There are some funniest comments. But, this really irritates me. Ash, I don't know if you know that on EasyJet, you have to put your handbag in your hand luggage. So if I got this, not in my case, I've got a pretty sort of standard handbag, women's handbag. And it irritates me no end that I have to stick it into the hand luggage on EasyJet and then take it out. I find it absolutely ridiculous.
Somebody goes, 5 centimeters, my wife will be happy. It's not the size that matters, it's how you use it. The last story here is that there was an announcement that TBO signed an agreement to acquire Classic Vacations. I know Classic Vacations because they're a US-based entity. They do a lot of luxury vacations for Hawaii, Mexico, but TBO is a company based in India. So I'm not really sure how TBO is going to use Classic Vacations, whether this is just them taking on that business, keeping it intact, or they're going to do something else with it. I'm not really sure. TBO is a company based in India, and they're focused on one platform for all travel needs. So it's a OTA play here. So interested to see how they're going to use Classic Vacations.
I mean, we are expecting various consolidations, right, in the industry, and acquisitions and consolidations. It's much needed.
Gary says hi from Boston. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate you being here today. That takes us to the end of the show, Anne.
Well, I had an extra story.
Oh, extra story. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. See, this is why we need Rian to do these little things. What's your extra story, Anne?
The extra story was, but I find it fascinating that British Airways don't, when you cancel a reservation and you paid for seat reservations, they don't refund you the money for the seat reservations. And like in this case described, it was £500 sterling. And
wow.
I know. This is very, very interesting, the sort of lack of clarity on what is refunded and what is not. So I found that particularly interesting this week to read. I'll add that story to the post afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure people would like to read more about it. So if I'm this guy, I would go on the plane and I would bring in my saw and saw that seat off the plane and take it home. Because if I'm not going to get a refund, I'm going to at least get the seat.
So that would be on your next flight, right? You would say, yes,
I'm taking this home. Yeah. I mean, that's a piece of furniture, like a lazy boy.
It is a piece of furniture, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
But British Airways is known for, I mean, they're going to come out with a new website soon. So I just wanted to remind everybody about that.
Well, I hope we didn't disappoint you too much. We tried our very best. It's very hard without Rian, but thank you so much for listening in, everybody, and thank you for your comments.
Yeah, we really do appreciate the comments, as Anne just said. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And Rian will be back next week. Thank you all for joining today's live recording of Linking the Travel Industry. We record this podcast live every week on Monday, and we ask that you share this event with others that you know. Chances are high that if you enjoyed today's session, those that you know will as well. And if you ever miss a show because of time zone or availability, the podcast will be available on businesstravel360.com. This is Linking the Travel Industry, signing off.